inconsistent with his time and energy, text him this. Before you send the text, you need to have the right energy and be coming from the right spot. Remember, you are looking for something specific. You want your man, not just any man. This guy's either it or he's not. He's either gonna step it up or get out. And while life is obviously not that black and white, the way that he shows up for you is a good indication of how he would if you were in a relationship. So in this case, it's gonna tell you a lot. So what we're doing here is setting boundaries. So if he's being inconsistent and you wanna push it a little bit to see if he's gonna step up or step out, send him this text. To be honest, I was hoping that this had potential, but I'm just not attracted to your inability to be consistent. It doesn't seem like you're ready for a relationship, and I'm not interested in being the only one pursuing something.
Oh, I'm so scared.
Hey lady, have any of your cockamamie schemes ever worked in the past? I think it's a relatively fair question to be asking here. I don't think anything that you've ever proposed on your stupid TikTok channel has ever yielded a result that you think that you deserve. Every single thing that you propose is so unnecessarily elaborate that I have my sincerest doubts that you've actually ever used these things in the past. I mean, come on, lady. You cannot sit there and seriously tell me that you've porked enough dudes in order to actually use these so-called strategies of yours and actually see some type of successful end result now, do ya? Of course not. That's because you're making it up as you go and you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. If this guy wanted to be in a relationship with you, he would be in a relationship with you because men control access to relationships. But you want to give this guy so many chances that by sending a text like this, you're hoping for a miracle that this guy will actually change his mind to be with you. But the only miracle I could ever see coming from you is the day that you realize that your TikTok channel is stupid and does absolutely nothing. I mean, I know it sounds impossible, but hey, sometimes miracles do happen.
He's either gonna say, oh, damn, she's ready, I need to step it up, I'm actually interested in this girl, what the hell am I doing? Or he's gonna say, wow, what a bitch, because he doesn't want to put any effort in. You want someone that is willing to actually step up and be what you need, and if that's not him, that's okay. And I also recognize that this response is a little harsh, so let me know if you want maybe a more gentle way to say this if this really isn't in alignment with your vibe. See you guys in the next one. Love you. Bye.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Lady, what you're proposing is fundamentally impossible. Allow me to explain. You would not be caught dead with a member of the illustrious bottom 95% club, which means that you know your standards and you know your value and blah, blah, blah. So that means the lowest you would possibly go for a man is about a 9.5, and we're actually stretching that one pretty far with that assumption. But with that being said, you are going after these men who are incredibly rich, incredibly good looking, and have options, and you're telling this man to his face that he needs to step up in order to be with you, even though being in a relationship with you would be a massive downgrade to his status, his pride, his dignity, and just an overall quality of life. Once he receives that text, he'll just say that the situationship is over, and then he'll walk away, find another woman who'll be more agreeable, and you'll be stuck in your car giving out terrible life advice because you refuse to admit your life is just one gigantic comedy of errors, just minus the comedy. Well, at least for you. It's hilarious to us.
That's funny because it's so true.
Right, I'm walking to go on a first date at 11:30 at night.
I am alive. I did lose custody of the gym. This is one of the more dumb things that I've ever done. I want to talk about some of the things that I learned from this 11:30 p.m. gym date from my therapist. First thing I learned, honestly, I knew this before I went on the date, was don't go on a date later than like 8 p.m. at night. When I told my therapist that I went on a date at 11:30 at night, she shook her head at me and told me that I should know better. Do it for the plot is all fun and games until you've put yourself in a situation where you feel incredibly uncomfortable because a dude thinks that he's gonna get to hook up with you.
Say, what now? What now?
I have a confession to make, and it's embarrassing. I am a 53-year-old divorced woman who is terrified to tell her ex-husband that she is in a relationship now.
Liar! Liar! Liar!
Married 24 years. We have been apart for 2.5 years. A really good relationship. We have a 21-year-old son, so, you know, he's in my life here and there. And I can't bring myself to tell him. First of all, I probably don't even need to tell him. I don't owe him anything, right? Like, it's none of his business, but there is something inside of me which is still trapped in the old paradigm that I am responsible for his feelings and that I owe him explanations, even though he's not even my husband anymore.
Aren't you lying?
No.
In fact, aren't you a liar? No more questions, Your Honor.
I'm gonna stop you right there, lady, because we all know you couldn't care less about this man's feelings. You were married to this guy for 24 years, so I think we can safely surmise that you're the one who initiated the divorce. The only way that I could really see him being the one to initiate is if you cheated on him, or you were taking part in ritualistic goat sacrifices in his man cave. So I honestly think that you're the one who initiated it because you were unhappy and you wanted to go find your most true and authentic self, and you didn't care about his feelings when you initiated the divorce. And you didn't care about his feelings for the 18 years you mooched off him to take care of your spawn. You didn't care about his feelings when you started looking for men, and you most certainly are not going to care about his feelings when you try to rub it in his face that you're porking another man. It's either that or you're trying to make him jealous in an attempt to take you back, but sister, why on earth would he do that? You destroyed his life and practically stole from him from 18 years, and the second you thought you had no more use for him, you kicked him to the curb. Now you just want him to turn around and have feelings for you again. That's not how it works. This man has too much dignity, and he's not willing to lose it over you.
This weekend, this is the reason why I'm telling you this is because we were all together this weekend celebrating my son's 21st birthday. So I went, my ex went, and my brother and my sister-in-law and my niece went. We were all together. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna tell him because I don't want to not talk about it. Like I feel like I'm hiding a secret. And we were all set, and then my brother was like, no, don't tell him yet, you're gonna ruin his weekend. And I'm like, fuck, why can't I tell him? My stupid brother? So I told my boyfriend is like, yo, you gonna tell him? So I didn't tell him this weekend, and it's weighing on me. And I feel like when I do tell him, it'll be like a weight off my shoulders and a freedom. But part of it almost feels like I'm asking him for the divorce all over again. I know that doesn't make sense. We're divorced. We're legally divorced. We don't live together. We're fully separate. I don't want to get back together. There's no regrets here. No regrets here. That's not what this is.
Liar! Liar! Liar!
Yeah, sure, there's no regrets. That's why you had to remind yourself 3 times that there were no regrets and that you didn't want to get back together with him. I'm failing to see why this is such a big deal. You said it yourself. You've been divorced for 2.5 years. You're fully separated. You live apart. You have your life, he has his, so what's with the drama here? But you can go ahead and ignore that question because here's a more important one. You are really concerned about your ex-husband finding out that you're porking another guy. Okay, well, fair enough. If that's the case, then why do you feel compelled to tell literally every single person on the planet of your petty drama except for the one guy that you want to talk to? And this is compounded by the fact that you don't want him to find out until you can talk to him, and yet you put the video on TikTok for the entire public to see. You are more concerned with the opinions of a bunch of people that you've never even met over the opinions of a man that you divorced 2.5 years ago. Yeah, it really does show where your priorities lie, sister. It also shows your level of intellect, or, well, lack thereof in this case.
But this is like you have a life with someone for 24 years and you respect them and they're your friend, and maybe you don't stay married to them, but you still care about them and you care about their feelings, and they don't suddenly mean nothing to you anymore.
Liar! Liar! Liar!
There is no playbook for shit like this. I either need to just be like, hey, by the way, I am dating someone, no, period, the end. No, you don't need to know anything else. Or I just don't say anything and wait for him to just find out. I don't know. What did you guys fucking do? What did you guys do? Did you just let them find out when, through the kids? How does this work?
Hell! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Woman, you're creating a whole bunch of drama out of nothing here. What you're talking about isn't that big of a deal. You're only making it a big of a deal because you want the public to side with you as you go to try to break this man even further than you already have. You're making it a big deal because you want an emotional reaction from that man. The only problem is you want him to react by wanting you back. You want some type of reaction where you end up being the center of attention. Odds are, if it's been 2.5 years, this guy has probably moved on with his life and he's on to bigger and better things. He's not going to be concerned with who you're taking to bed because he's too busy, paying his own rent and maybe trying to find someone who's actually going to treat him with some respect. He's not going to be pining over some aged out broad who decided to initiate a divorce with him for petty reasons. And let's just be real here. If you honestly did care about this man's feelings, you wouldn't have initiated the divorce because you would have been busy trying to make things work, but that clearly isn't the case here, now is it?
This is not the way to move forward if you're trapped in the old paradigm, which was it's all about him, it's about his feelings, protecting his feelings. And part of the reason why it was so difficult for me to even tell him that our marriage was over was because of the devastation and disappointment that I knew he would feel. Living with that feeling was pretty traumatizing. And this is symbolic of why I stayed in my marriage too long, because I'm afraid. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT. Okay, it sounds like I should tell him.
You! I will think of you as I throw up into the toilet.
Wow, okay, there's a lot to unpack there. So let me get this straight. The fear of your husband's reaction to you wanting to divorce him was so big that it traumatized you? Oh, yeah, you can go screw yourself, woman. However difficult it was for you to initiate that divorce, I assure you, it was 5 times harder for your ex-husband. Whatever he suffered through, he had to suffer through in silence as you watched TikTok and tried to talk about how stunning and brave you were as you were trying to bilk this man for alimony. And you only come up with a decision after ChatGPT gave you the answer that you wanted to hear. You cannot for a second leave this poor guy alone to live his life. You have virtually zero reason to tell this guy that you're porking another man, but oh no, because the AI chatbot told you to do it, you're gonna do it. I would ask ChatGPT if I should tell you to go to hell, but I'm not gonna bother. Go to hell, woman.
Hi, we have to take a moment for some shameless self-promotion.
I want to take a second to give a personal thank you to the members of the Bounty Board for their support of this channel and helping to make today's episode a reality. It's gentlemen and gents much like yourselves that make this job all the more sweeter, so thank you once again. All hail! And if you're interested in supporting the channel, check out the Bounty Board over on Patreon, where $5 a month gets you access to exclusive content you're not going to find anywhere else. It's posted regularly twice a week. The link is in the pinned comment down below. We now take you back to your regularly scheduled programming, already in progress.
Right, I'm walking to go on a first date at 11:30 at night.
I am alive. I did lose custody of the gym. This is one of the more dumb things that I've ever done. I want to talk about some of the things that I learned from this 11:30 p.m. gym date from my therapist. First thing I learned, honestly, I knew this before I went on the date, was don't go on a date later than like 8 p.m. at night. When I told my therapist that I went on a date at 11:30 at night, she shook her head at me and told me that I should know better. Do it for the plot is all fun and games until you've put yourself in a situation where you feel incredibly uncomfortable because a dude thinks that he's gonna get to hook up with you.
Say what now? What now?
Okay, let me get this straight here. You agreed to go out on a date with a man at 11:30 at night, and yet it is still somehow his fault that you agreed to go because he thought he was going to have the opportunity to sleep with you? How does that even work, lady? You went against every single one of your instincts because you wanted to go out with a hot guy. Just admit it, because hot men make you do stupid things. We should know, we see modern women doing it all the freaking time. But you're never going to admit that because by doing so, you would admit that you have flaws. And if there's one thing we all know, kryptonite to modern women, outside of it taking accountability and not having regular access to 19 layers of makeup, is admitting that you're not perfect. Because as we all know, if you admit that you're not perfect, that ruins the plot. And the plot is the one thing that keeps you going in that empty husk that you call a life.
Next thing that my therapist really shined some light on for me was that just because I met somebody in public doesn't mean that I know them. They are still a stranger to me, and I shouldn't get in a car with them. I should get better at trying not to get murdered. The next thing that my therapist told me was, you are allowed to leave a date at any time. Because I don't know how to say no, I was trying to protect his feelings, and I wasn't looking out for myself. I agreed to go to the next bar, and we ended up closing the bars at 2 in the morning. We went to a taco truck, and the whole time I was just thinking to myself, how am I gonna wake up for work in the morning? So look out for yourself. If you have to work in the morning, just say, peace out, guys, I gotta get out of here.
What?
This is one thing that I have never understood. Modern women have been going on and on and on telling men that no means no, and yet she's turning around and saying that she doesn't know how to say no. So which one is it? You don't know what you're talking about here. It sounds to me like you're just trying to get sympathy for a terrible decision. You went out drinking on a work night, and instead of just saying that might not have been a smart idea, you're trying to imply that the guy who asked you out on a date was a serial killer, which clearly isn't the case, because at 2 o'clock, your biggest fear wasn't your prevention from bodily harm, it was how you were going to make it to work the next day. So all you're trying to do is get sympathy for a dumb decision you made on a date, which, as we all know, you made it because the guy was hot. And I gotta tell you, sister, your therapist is one hell of a racket going, considering that all she had to do was tell you that you made a stupid decision, and instead is just filling you up with more neuroses than you already have. Wow, that's one hell of a con job.
And lastly, the thing that really hit home for me when I was talking to my therapist, she said to me, don't let guys use you. I was like, I'm not letting them use me. I don't sleep with any of them. She said, no, you don't understand. Yeah, you're not sleeping with them, so they're not using you in the physical sense. They are using you for your time, for your energy, for having a girl on their arm. So she said, be more picky about the guys that you go out with. Don't let guys use you. Thank you to my therapist who shed some light on some things I wasn't thinking about when I went on a date with a stranger at 11:30 p.m. at night. Did I survive? Yes. Could things have gone a lot worse than they did? Also, yes. I'm going to absorb the lessons that my therapist taught me, and I hope that maybe you learn something from her as well.
Emotional, damn it!
Lady, I got a question. Who hurt your therapist? Because it sounds to me like this therapist just wants you hating men in general. Like, no, I do agree you shouldn't be going out on dates at 11:30 a.m. on a work night, but that's just common sense, which you clearly lack. But I also find it very interesting that your therapist is implying that most men out there are either violent psychopaths or just sociopaths who want to use you for something. A majority of the men out there who are looking to actually date are looking for somebody to spend the rest of their lives with, and going out on dates is how you do that. But come on, let's just be real here. You said it yourself. You went out on this date for the plot, which means that you were using this man to have a fun experience. You were using his time, his energy, and his money to get free drinks, to get free food, and to have some fun at his expense. So who's using who, sister? And it sounds to me like you need to be finding a therapist for your therapist, because she is truly off her freaking rocker. But considering the caliber of clientele she's got to deal with, it really isn't that much of a surprise. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button. Ring the notification bell, leave a couple of comments, and make sure to share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for checking out the new video, gentlemen and gents, and until next time, peace out, homies.